So starting up in business is hard as it is. And especially if you've not done it before and you're a first timer, that's because there's so many things involved in it and you need to make sure you get them all right. Anything from your marketing strategy, knowing who your customers are, making sure that your products and services are right, making sure you know the pricing point of those products and services, making sure you can create the right team, manage the team. There's so many things involved. On top of that, you need to make sure that you've got enough funding. And this is something a lot of my business coaching clients overlook. And it's one of the most important things because without money, you've not got a business. And if you don't know who I am, I'm Michael J. I have built 7-figure businesses, I've built 6-figure businesses, and it is my calling and purpose in life to teach as many people as possible to do the same so they can quit that shitty job that they hate, get rid of that nasty boss that they can't stand, and build a life that they want to lead. And in this video, I'm going to show you 6 ways in how to fund that business that you've always wanted to start with very little to no money. So to be a business owner and an effective entrepreneur, you need to get really creative and start thinking outside the box. And that's something with all the business coaching clients of mine new into business really struggle with, because once you're in a 9-to-5 rat racy kind of job, you don't really need to think outside the box and be creative. In certain jobs you do, but most jobs you don't. So that's something you're going to get used to, or you need to get used to. Especially in the funding area, this is where a lot of people think that there's a very strict, unflexible way of doing things in the financing arena. But believe it or not, there are a lot of opportunities out there for you to create some money and to fund your business without very much money or little money at all. And all you've got to do is just be resourceful and a little bit more creative, and you can get a lot of businesses up and running with very little. The first funding option for you to get that business up and running of yours is personal financing and using banks. So people massively overlook this area, and it's an amazing option, especially if you've got good credit. And you can get hold of literally tens of thousands of pounds very quickly with this option. The way you can do that is through credit cards, overdrafts, and personal loans. And the reason why I think people overlook this option a lot is because they link personal financing to things like mortgages, holidays, and cars. But you can use all of those options that I've just described to build your business or even just to start your business. And for every single business that I've ever grown, I've used personal financing to either get a business up and running or help it grow. I have literally used credit cards, I've used overdrafts, and I've got personal loans. So if I can do it, you can do the same. And as I mentioned before, if you've got good credit, you can get decent amounts of money, get up to like 10, 20, 30 grand if your finances are good. The benefits of this option are that you can get quick financing. It can literally happen overnight. Also, you can spread the costs out over a long period of time, and if your credit is good, you can get high amounts. The only downside to this is that it's linked to your personal assets, which means that if you can't make payments, technically the bank can come and start taking some of your things. That's just how personal credit works. It's different with business financing and if you've got a limited company, because that is all protected through that limited company. But with your personal credit, it's all linked to your personal assets. Another downside to it is that it's very inflexible in terms of repayment. So you might get a loan, for example, and you might have to pay it back over 3 years, and you've got to pay back every single month, let's say £200 or £300, and it's very inflexible. But for me, this option is really good for new startups. And that's because if you've got good credit, you can get decent amounts and you can get the money very quickly. The next funding option to get that business up and running of yours is to use family and friends. And again, this is something that a lot of people overlook. And the reason why they overlook it is because they think they're taking something from that family member and almost duping them out of something. But remember, you're not borrowing money from them to spend on something silly that's depreciating like a car or a holiday. You are essentially making that family member some money. You're borrowing money to grow a business, so you're going to make them money and you're going to make yourself money. So it's a win-win situation, and family and friends is one of my best options. Because if you've got a family member, for example, that's got a lot of money sat in the bank, and you're a business person that's got a lot of ambition, you know you can make something work, it's a win-win situation. All you've got to do is have a really solid proposal. You need to make sure you've got all your numbers there, that the business idea is solid, that you've done market research, and you can present this back to your family member or your friend to ensure that you can get their buy-in. There is a lot of benefits with this option. One of them being is that you can get the money very quickly. If you've got a family member there with the money, they can literally transfer it the day after you've pitched the business idea for them. You've got that relationship and that trust there already. So that's a massive plus when it comes to investments and business. Also, which is a massive plus, is the fact that you can create or agree a flexible repayment program with that family member. Now, with the initial option that I spoke about, you have to pay back every single month until that amount's paid up with the bank. But with family members, you can come up with something creative, and that's, again, a win-win situation for everyone. As an example, you can say to the family member, I probably won't be able to repay anything for the first year because I'm getting the business up and running. But after that, let's say I'm going to give you X amount, let's say £1,000 a month, to repay what you've borrowed. Some downsides to this option: if it doesn't work out, potentially relationships can break down, but I think that's a low risk in all honesty. And the only other downside I see with this is that it can be difficult to persuade a family member, especially if you've not ever been in business before and you've not got a lot of experience there. But again, that ties back to networking and making sure that in life you're always ambitious and looking to make a move, and that you can prove that you're a solid investment for that family member to invest in. The next funding option I'm going to talk about is VC or angel investing. Now, this is basically where you've got an investor that has got a lot of money there, that's got experience in investing, and they are looking for people like you, like me, who are good at business, that are entrepreneurial, that want to make something and create something in life that makes money. And in return, they get a stake in the business, and they obviously make money on the money that they've invested in you. The benefits of this option are that you can get quite a lot of money, hundreds of thousands of pounds, if not millions. Although if you're a startup and brand new startup, you're probably not going to get millions, but tens of thousands up to 100, 200,000 is definitely possible. Also with this one, you can agree, like the last option, flexible repayment terms. So investors know the score when it comes to business. They don't expect to be paid every single month for the first few years, so they get the money back as quickly as possible. They know within the first year, 18 months, that they're not going to get very much, if anything, in return. Another really cool benefit of having an investor on board is that they've got the expertise there in other business areas, so they can provide some advice on your business. So you're not just getting an investor, you're getting someone with the expertise that can help your business grow even further. The downside to this option is that it can be quite hard to find investors, or at least investors that are a good fit, and it can be difficult to persuade and get their buy-in. So those are really the main downsides. But if you're good at pitching and creating a good solid business plan and presenting, then you can get buy-in very quickly, and if you can find them, again, that's those problems solved. The next funding option I'm going to talk about is crowdfunding. Now, you've probably heard or seen or even been asked to invest or put some money into something that someone's been asking for. Just Giving, for example, that's a type of crowdfunding where you've got people that are looking for charitable donations. So they send you a link, you click on the link, and then you make a payment. So that's the type of crowdfunding. So this type of funding option came popular around 5 years ago, although it's probably been around a bit longer than that. And there are many platforms out there where you can try and secure some crowdfunding now. So do a little bit of research around that. And this is a really good option. It's a really creative option to give many people out there the chance to invest in your company and get a little slice of the pie. So with this option, you're going to ask for a particular amount of money, and in exchange, you're going to offer something back to the people that are going to invest in your company, whether that's a slice of the pie in terms of shares, whether that's a free product or service for their investment. It can be anything. It can even be just a gift, but you're asking for a particular amount of money. Now, sometimes you can actually get more money than you ask for. I know a company that were asking for, I think it was £250,000, and they actually got around 1.5 million. So I do like the creativity of this one, but a major downside of it is that it's going to be quite a lot of people investing that you don't really know. Now, if that doesn't bother you, then that's great, but I know some people, and me personally, I like to know the people that are investing in my company to build that relationship up. But if you don't mind it, then this option's great. The difficulties of this particular option is that you need to be very good at putting a proposal together like the last option. And if you're good at it again, then it's not a problem. But this process can take quite a long time with crowdfunding. It's not like you're approaching one or two investors or a family member. You're putting it out on a website, you're putting your proposal out there, and you're waiting for people to kind of click in that particular investment. And it can take a while to find investors because you've got to get that particular investment out there and advertise it and things. So a little bit more difficult to get the investment, or at least the engagement on the investment proposal. The next funding option I'm going to talk about is seller financing, which I really, really like. This is an option where you're going to buy a business from a seller. And let's say this business is worth 100 grand. You will approach the seller and say, I would like to do this through seller financing, which the seller obviously needs to agree. And you might need to put down, let's say, 30%. So you put down 30 grand and then you will repay the remaining 70%, which is the 70 grand over time to the seller. So this is another win-win situation because the seller can sell quickly and offload his business, and you can buy a business for a lot less money. Now, obviously, with this option, you do need a little bit of money, but you can use one of the other options, whether that's a VC or family and friends, to pay that 30% deposit for you. So that means you don't have to put any money in at all. So the major downside to this option is that you're going to need to be good at pitching or at least negotiating with that seller. And obviously the seller needs to have a little bit of knowledge on seller financing. And if they don't, it's going to be your job to educate them. So if you've not had a lot of experience in business and you've never really done seller financing before, it can be difficult. But if you educate yourself and you get the skills to be able to educate the seller, this is a very good option. The next funding option I'm going to talk about is government initiatives, which is my least favorite, although it can help new businesses and new startups when the initiatives are there. So what these are basically governments offering money for free to businesses to get their businesses up and running. Now, a downside to this is that they come and go very quickly and they have very specific requirements for them. So you need to fit in those particular requirements basically, and if you don't, you're not going to get the funding. Another downside to this is that the application process can be very lengthy and it can become quite difficult to fill in the applications. And obviously you're going to need to speak to people that work in the government in these particular initiatives, which again, it's very difficult to do so. And these guys have not really been trained that much in business, so they don't really know much from my experience. So a few downsides there. A big upside to this is that it's literally free money. So whatever you get you get to keep and you don't have to pay it back. So it's really good for people that do fit into those specific government initiative requirements. But there are a lot of downsides to this one, and it's not one of my favorites. So there you go. Those are your 6 funding options to help you get your business startup up and running as soon as possible. And you can see that there are a lot of options out there, and you can mix and match the options, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, but get creative with it. Don't be inflexible with these things, and start doing your research, and you're going to be surprised at what business you can create. And these things are possible. When I first started in business, I didn't think that there were these funding options out there. I just thought you went to a bank and you got a loan and that's the only option that you had. That used to be the case, but now things are much different and things are a lot more flexible, and there are a lot more creative solutions out there. So if you took value in this video, please like the video, please subscribe, and if you've got anything that you want to discuss, get in touch, because I'm a business coach, I'm a business consultant, and I've worked with hundreds of clients, and we've got some really amazing results. So that's it from me today, guys. Until next time,